Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. We have a right to live, and the right to life is guaranteed by practically all the constitutions and the human rights. As a matter of right to life is the most important right. Life, property, religion, freedom of expression. Isn't the right to die a part of right to live? Right to life means right also to end life. And that was the main reason that committing suicide, which used to be a crime, was no longer deemed a crime in most of the advanced societies. Now, practically everywhere, an individual is not committing a crime when he commits suicide or attempts to commit suicide. But in case he is incapable of committing suicide because of the various factors, he is deprived of this right. And rightly so, to a great extent. The greedy successors would like the man to die, other women to die, so that they can gobble up the property. And even if a person doesn't want to die, he might be presented as a case for assisted suicide. So the rules or the norms had to be formed. And the Supreme Court of Canada directed the federal government to make rules how assisted dying can be there. The doctor assisted dying in case of the terminal disease. As a matter of fact, there comes in the life of any person a stage when he doesn't want to live and he wants to put an end to his misery. Let's not forget one major factor, that life is one of the most charming things and nobody wants to die. Even the people who want to commit suicide at the crucial juncture, some of them go back from the abyss and don't commit suicide. And some do. Now, the right to die has two connotations. One is your willingness to die. I was very young, possibly 11 years old, when I wrote an article, Fallow Day Say, in defense of committing suicide, and I had mentioned if people can commit suicide. Look at the historical background in the Roman history and the tradition. The great Roman generals, when they were defeated or when they were responsible for something, they would ask their servant to hold the sword, and they run against the sword and thus die. The concept of harakiri in Japan shows that harakiri can be committed only by the very brave people. And that's true. Nobody wants to die. So if one wants to die to preserve one's dignity, or because he doesn't want to live, is his inherent right. The problem is, if a person reaches the end of the tether, should the doctors assist him in dying or not? I personally feel that when a person reaches the end of the tether, when he is so frustrated with life that he doesn't want to live for a single moment, then it's the inherent duty of the doctor to release him from the torture. Now, the protagonist of not ending life, argue, and rightly so, that many a time the doctors may be bribed by the greedy successors, and they might insist the man to die or the woman to die, even when that person doesn't want to die. And that is a travesty of the desire of the person. So, what should be the conditions which entitle a person to medical assistance? That is a major issue facing the government of Canada, because they have to formulate the law as soon as possible and present it, otherwise the Supreme Court might take some steps unilaterally. The doctor-assisted death at present in Canada and most of the other countries, there are only few countries where you can easily die. You go to Switzerland, you want to die, you go walk into the doctor's clinic with a couple of witnesses and you say you want to die. The doctor sees that you are not fit to live, that your life is a torture, and he can help you be put to sleep. But it's not like so in most of the countries. Couple of countries don't mind. They are the heavens for those people who want assisted death. As I said, Switzerland is one of them. And that's a mecca for the people who want to die easily, put an end to their miseries. Now comes the question of those countries where assisted death is not so easy. You must be terminal ill. Now, what does one mean by being terminal ill? There can be pain which is of the highest order, continuous pain, and there's no hope of any alleviation, any relief of pain. Does not entitle you to die? No. There should be a board of doctors who decide that you are terminally ill. It should be investigated that no pressure has been brought on the patient to sign the declaration that he wants to die or she wants to die. And there is no external pressure from the greedy, rapacious relations who want to gobble up the property. And then the doctors can assist that. So how many doctors should be there? Suppose there are 3 doctors and there is one minority doctor. Should it go to a second board? These are the various stages that have to be crossed with the government and have to be decided. I personally feel the right to die is a fundamental right because it's a part of right to live. And what the government should do is, when a man is in his senses to make a will, that in this and this condition, he should not be allowed to go on living, or she, for that matter. If a person feels that he has a right to die, the doctor should assist him to die. As long as he is a person in his senses. Yes, there can be a board which can advise him, look here, your disease, your illness is not terminal. Yes, it's quite possible that you might escape the misery in a few years, in a few months, in a few days. There is a hope of recovery. But still, if the patient is adamant, the doctor should be permitted to put him to sleep. Imagine we are very sympathetic with the animals. A dog is sick, and the vet, without any board, without anything, puts him to sleep. Any animal, horses, they are injured. That's it, only an injury, they are late. And the vet would go and put them to sleep. Why can't the same facility be extended to the human beings? Is it because that the human beings are social animals? And while those animals, also being social, have nobody to protect them, that we are overprotected? Or there is overt interference in our everyday life? These are questions that face anybody. The governments of the day have become too obsessively concerned with the way people live. But is that freedom? Liberty is more licensed, more restrictive than ever before. Is that good for the human dignity? Now, my concern is that if a person is not competent to live, that doesn't want to live, if he is in a pain which is not mitigated, and unless there is evidence that he is being prompted to die, the person should be permitted to breathe his last. His wishes, if he is in his senses, should be respected. And if a person in his senses goes to a doctor and says he wants to die, the doctor should help him die. Now the question that might arise is that it might be just a fit of melancholy, that it might be a sudden urge to die, and the man may really not want to die given the time for reflection. Yes, that's possible. So the best thing is let the patient go to the doctor, tell him he wants to die. The doctor says, okay, you think about it, come back in 48 hours, come back in 72 hours. In the meantime, he refers him to a psychologist. The psychologist studies him, sees whether he is under a momentary pressure or is it real wish to die. And after the psychiatric examination, if the person in his senses and his wish is not a transient, fleeting wish, he should be assisted to die peacefully with dignity. I, as an individual, have a right to live with dignity. I, as an individual, should have a right to die with dignity. This setting up of the boards is okay if a person is in a vegetative state and he cannot make a decision. Because at that time, the greedy relations can play a dirty role. But if a person in his senses and he willfully tells the doctor, I want to die, but I do not have the means to an easy death, it's your incumbent duty as my medical advisor to help me die the way I want. Put me to sleep. And that should be permitted. As long as it is proved that the person is not under any pressure, that psychologically he is competent and mentally he is competent to make a decision, that decision should be honored. Otherwise, what we are doing is we are taking away his right to life. As I said, right to life and right to die are inherent, aspects of each other. They are the two sides of the same coin. The right to die and right to life cannot be separated. The only thing that should be seen is that this right to die has not been misused by the others, and it is the wish of the patient to breathe his last. It's really brave persons who can die, let me tell you. Nobody wants to leave this world. It's so attractive. And if a person really wants to leave this world, there must be a reason for that. And that reason and the wish of the person should be respected. That's the way I feel. Don't you agree? Think about it. Thank you.